Millionaire freezes, seeing street girl, caring for two babies. Do you want one, sir? Before diving into this incredible narrative, leave a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the journey. Rain hammered the streets of São Paulo like bullets from the sky when Teodoro Silva left La Cuisine, his five-star restaurant that had defined fine dining in the city for more than a decade. At 48, Teodoro commanded respect in every environment he frequented. His grey hair perfectly styled, his Italian suit impeccable despite the storm outside. "Mr. Silva, your car is waiting," his assistant shouted through the torrential rain, but Teodoro waved him off. Sometimes a man needed to walk, even in weather like this. The Silva Culinary Group had made him one of São Paulo's most powerful restaurant entrepreneurs, but tonight felt different. Empty success without family to share it was just expensive loneliness. When he turned the corner into the service alley behind the restaurant, Teodoro stopped. Crouched against the brick wall, barely visible in the shadows, was a small figure holding something precious. "Hey!" he called out, approaching cautiously. "You can't stay here. It's dangerous." The figure looked up, a girl perhaps 8 years old with tangled dark hair and clothes that had seen better days. But it wasn't her appearance that stopped Teodoro's heart. It was what she held. Two small babies wrapped in what appeared to be torn fabric from a tablecloth. "Please don't call the police," whispered the girl, her voice mature beyond her years. "They're just babies. They didn't do anything wrong." Teodoro knelt in the rain, his expensive suit forgotten. "What's your name, dear?" "Luna," she replied, holding the babies closer. "I found them in the dumpster 2 days ago. Someone threw them away like garbage, but I won't let anything happen to them." "Ooh, where are your parents?" Teodoro asked gently. Luna's eyes, surprisingly familiar green eyes, met his directly. "I don't have any. It's just the three of us now." Something broke in Teodoro's chest. This child, little more than a baby herself, had been protecting 2 infants in a storm while the rest of the world passed by. "Listen, Luna," he said, making a decision that would change everything. "I have a big apartment up there. It's warm, there's food, and you 3 can be safe. Would you like that?" Luna studied his face with the intensity of someone who had learned not to trust easily. "You won't separate us. Never," Teodoro promised, surprised by the certainty in his voice. As he helped them up, Luna looked at him with those impossible green eyes and whispered, "You have the same eyes my daddy had." Teodoro's penthouse elevator had never carried such precious cargo. Luna sat protectively between the 2 babies, her small arms creating a fortress around them. The babies, a boy and a girl, slept peacefully despite everything they had endured. "What are their names?" Teodoro asked, as the elevator rose to his home 30 floors above the storm. "I call them Esperanza and João," Luna replied softly. "Esperanza because she smiled at me first, and João because he's brave like a soldier." The elevator doors opened, revealing Teodoro's pristine penthouse, all glass, marble, and carefully curated emptiness. Margarete Costa, his housekeeper of 15 years, appeared immediately and froze, seeing the scene before her. "Mr. Silva," she stammered. "What? Who are these children?" "Margarete, meet Luna, Esperanza, and João. They'll be staying with us for a while." Before Margarete could respond, the front door burst open violently. Ricardo Moreira, Teodoro's business partner and longtime rival, entered uninvited, his expensive coat dripping from the storm. "Teodoro, we need to discuss quarterly projections and—" Ricardo stopped mid-sentence, his calculating eyes absorbing the scene. A slow smile spread across his face. Well, what do we have here?" Luna instinctively pulled the babies closer, her green eyes narrowing as she studied Ricardo. Something about her protective posture reminded Teodoro of a lioness guarding her cubs. "Ricardo, not now," Teodoro said firmly. "Oh, but this is fascinating," Ricardo continued, circling them like a predator. "The great Teodoro Silva playing house with street children. The board will find this interesting." "The board will find what interesting?" Teodoro's voice carried a warning tone. "Your sudden emotional instability. First the missed meetings, now this impulsive charity case. Some might question your judgment, your fitness to lead our company. Margarete stepped forward protectively. Sir, the children need food and warm clothes. Should I prepare the guest rooms? Yes, please, Teodoro replied, his eyes never leaving Ricardo's smug expression. As Margarete guided Luna and the babies toward the kitchen, Luna stopped at the hallway entrance. She looked at Ricardo with an intensity that made both men uncomfortable. Don't worry, she whispered to the sleeping babies, her voice loud enough for all to hear. That bad man won't separate us. I know his type. Ricardo's smile faltered slightly as Luna disappeared down the hallway. Charming child, he said, but something had shifted in his demeanor. Teodoro, you can't seriously be considering. What I'm considering is none of your business. After Ricardo left with barely veiled threats about board meetings and shareholder concerns, Teodoro found Luna in the kitchen, expertly feeding Esperanza with a bottle Margarete had prepared. How do you know how to do this? He asked, impressed by her skill. You learn fast on the streets, Luna replied practically. But Mr. Teodoro, that man is dangerous. I've seen his type before. What do you mean? Luna's green eyes met his with surprising wisdom. He wants something from you and thinks we're the way to get it. Morning light flooded Teodoro's penthouse as he stood in his kitchen, staring helplessly at a can of baby formula. In 30 years of business, he had never felt more incompetent. You're measuring wrong, Luna observed from her perch on a stool. Esperanza skillfully nestled in her arms. Babies need the exact measure or they get sick. Teodoro watched in amazement as this 8-year-old demonstrated proper technique with the confidence of someone much older. Where did you learn all this? The streets teach everything, Luna replied, but her eyes flickered with something deeper. Pain, perhaps, or memory. Over the next few days, Teodoro's perfectly ordered life transformed into beautiful chaos. Conference calls were interrupted by crying babies. Business dinners were cancelled for runs to the supermarket for diapers and formula. Margarete, initially overwhelmed, began humming lullabies while folding tiny clothes. Sir, she said one evening, watching Teodoro try to burp baby João, you're natural at this. Teodoro smiled, surprised by how right it felt. For the first time in years, his penthouse felt like a home instead of just an expensive hotel. But Luna remained an enigma. She was fiercely protective of the babies, abnormally mature, and possessed knowledge that seemed impossible for a street child. During dinner, she casually mentioned knowing the restaurant owner who never pays his taxes and the judge who takes bribes. How do you know these things? Teodoro asked. Luna shrugged. Rich people talk like poor children are invisible. You hear everything. That night, Teodoro hired Jaime Santos, the city's most discreet private investigator, to find the baby's family and learn more about Luna's past. I need everything, Teodoro told Santos over the phone. Where she came from, how long she's been on the streets, anything about her family. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Ricardo Moreira, flanked by 2 other board members. Teodoro, Ricardo announced, we're concerned about your recent distractions. The Miami expansion requires your full attention. From the living room came the sound of Luna reading to the babies, her young voice animated as she told stories about brave princesses and protective dragons. My attention is exactly where it needs to be, Teodoro replied firmly. After they left, Luna appeared at the study entrance, Esperanza sleeping in her arms. Mr. Teodoro, she said quietly, that angry man reminds me of someone from before, someone who hurt people I loved. What do you mean by before? Luna's green eyes became distant. Sometimes I dream about a big house with a gentleman who made cookies. He had the same eyes as you. She paused, studying Teodoro's face intently. He used to call me his little princess. But then the bad thing happened, and I forgot everything. Teodoro's blood ran cold. Those eyes, those unmistakably familiar green eyes. His brother Marcos always made cookies for his daughter. Luna, he said carefully, what was that man's name? But Luna had already moved away, lost in fragmented memories she couldn't fully comprehend. "Are you sure about this?" Margaret asked as Teodoro prepared to take Luna and the babies shopping for proper clothes and supplies. "They can't live in borrowed pajamas forever," Teodoro replied, carefully securing baby Esperanza in her new car seat. João murmured contentedly in his matching seat while Luna stood nearby, protective as always. The trip to the mall created immediate commotion. Shoppers whispered and pointed as São Paulo's most eligible bachelor navigated the children's section with a small entourage. Luna seemed unfazed by the attention, methodically selecting practical clothes for herself and the babies. "You don't need to buy me expensive things," she told Teodoro quietly. "I'm used to making do. Everyone deserves beautiful things, Luna, especially brave girls who protect babies." At checkout, aggressive paparazzi surrounded them. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions about Teodoro's secret family. Luna immediately placed herself between the cameras and the babies, her small body forming a protective barrier. "Leave them alone," she commanded with surprising authority. "They're just babies." Teodoro was struck by her fierce protection and quick thinking. This child had survival instincts that spoke of experiences far beyond her years. Back home, Margareta helped Luna bathe the babies. Teodoro watched from the doorway, noticing how Luna's shirt lifted slightly, revealing faint scars on her back, old wounds that made his heart ache. "Margaret," he said later, after Luna had fallen asleep between the babies in the guest room, "she's been badly hurt." Margaret nodded sadly. "That child has an old soul, Mr. Silva. She's seen too much for someone so young." She paused. "She reminds me of my own little girl before I lost her." Teodoro had never heard Margaret mention having a child. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. Long time ago. Accident when she was small. Watching Luna with those babies brings back the good memories." That night, Teodoro worked late in his study, reviewing Santos's preliminary report on the baby's origins. Around midnight, he heard soft murmurs from the guest room. Concerned, he went to check. Luna was talking in her sleep, her young voice full of longing. "Marco said you'd come looking for me someday, Uncle Teo. He said family always finds family, but where are you? I can't remember your face anymore." Teodoro froze in the doorway. Marcos, his brother's name. Uncle Teo, the nickname only Marcos's daughter had used. His heart pounded as impossible hope bloomed in his chest. Could this brave girl who had appeared in the storm be Sofia, his brother's daughter, who had disappeared after the car accident that killed Marcos and Helena 6 years ago, whose body was never found? Luna stirred, her green eyes, those unmistakable silver eyes, opening sleepily. "Mr. Teodoro, did I say something wrong?" "No, dear," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "You said something perfect." Jaime Santos arrived at Teodoro's penthouse the next morning with a thick folder and a grim expression. Luna was in the kitchen helping Margarete prepare bottles for Esperanza and João, her soft humming echoing through the apartment. "What did you find?" Teodoro asked, leading Santos into his study. "The baby's story is heartbreaking," Santos began, opening the folder. "Their mother is Isabella Santos, 19 years old. She's at Mount Sinai Hospital. Terminal cancer, stage 4, maybe has weeks to live." Teodoro's chest tightened. "She abandoned them because she's dying? According to the hospital team, she gave birth alone and disappeared with the twins. They're looking for her." Santos slid a photograph across the table. "She left them because she couldn't bear the thought of them seeing her die." The photo showed a young woman with kind eyes and a brave smile. Despite the obvious ravages of disease, she looked like a child herself. "She doesn't know they're safe," Teodoro realized. "No, sir. The hospital thinks the babies died with her when she disappeared." Teodoro made an immediate decision. "We're going to see her today." An hour later, Teodoro and Luna walked through the oncology ward of Mount Sinai. Luna had insisted on coming, refusing to be separated from her babies for too long. Isabella Santos was in room 314, frail and pale but alert. When Teodoro and Luna entered, she gasped. "Who are you?" she whispered. "How did you find me?" I'm Teodoro Silva. This is Luna. We found your babies, Esperanza and João. They're safe." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "They're alive? Really alive?" "More than alive," Luna said, stepping forward with surprising confidence. "They're loved. Mr. Teodoro takes care of all of us." "I had to leave them," Isabella sobbed. "I couldn't let them see me like this. I wanted their last memory of Mama to be of someone whole, not broken." Teodoro sat beside the bed. "They'll remember that their mama loved them enough to ensure they were found by someone who would protect them." Isabella studied Teodoro's face. Will you stay with them? Give them the life I can't?" "Yes," Teodoro promised without hesitation. "They'll have everything, love, education, security, I swear it." Isabella smiled through tears. Then her gaze turned to Luna. Her expression changed to confusion, then recognition. "You," she whispered, staring at Luna with wide eyes. "Oh my God, you look exactly like her, like the girl from the news 6 years ago, the one who disappeared after that terrible accident." Luna stiffened. "What accident?" Isabella's voice became urgent. "The Silva family accident. Marcos and Helena Silva died, but their daughter disappeared. Her picture was everywhere, same green eyes, same face shape." She looked back and forth between Luna and Teodoro. "You two are—" Teodoro's world tilted on its axis as the truth crystallized. Luna wasn't just protecting 2 abandoned babies. She was his brother's lost daughter, finally home. The revelation at the hospital haunted Teodoro for days. Every time he looked at Luna, he saw flashes of his brother Marcos. The determination in her chin, the way she tilted her head when thinking, those unmistakable green silver eyes. "Sir," Santos called that night, "I need to discuss Luna's past. What I found is unusual." Teodoro stepped onto his balcony for privacy, while Luna helped Margaret bathe the babies inside. "Tell me everything. She's been in and out of foster homes since age 3, but there's no record of her life before that. Every time social services placed her, she'd disappear within weeks, always searching for something or someone. Any connection to the Silva accident? That's where it gets strange, sir. The timeline matches perfectly. Sofia Silva disappeared the night of the accident that killed Marcos and Helena. Her body was never recovered from the wreckage." Teodoro's grip tightened on the phone. "DNA test. I need confirmation. Already arranged. Discreet facility tomorrow morning." Meanwhile, Ricardo Moreira was mobilizing his attack. Teodoro's assistant knocked urgently on the balcony door. "Sir, emergency board meeting scheduled for Friday. Mr. Moreira cited concerning behavioral changes and questionable judgment affecting company interests." Teodoro's jaw clenched. Moreira was moving faster than expected. "Cancel all my appointments this week," Teodoro decided. "I'm filing formal adoption papers for all 3 children." That night, after putting the babies in their cribs, Teodoro found Luna sitting by the window, watching the city lights. "Can't sleep?" he asked gently. "Sometimes I have dreams," she admitted. "About before. There's a man with kind eyes like yours and a beautiful lady who smells like flowers. But then everything goes dark and scary." Teodoro sat beside her. "Luna, what if I told you that you might have family, real family, who's been looking for you?" Luna's eyes widened with a mixture of hope and fear. "Would they want me back, even after I've been bad, living on the streets?" "You weren't bad, dear. You were surviving. And yes, they would want you back very much." That night, Luna's nightmares were worse than ever. Teodoro woke to her screaming from the guest room. "Marcos, don't leave me. Daddy, please don't go." He rushed to comfort her as she sobbed in her sleep, crying out names that confirmed his growing certainty. Margaret appeared in the doorway, tears in her eyes. "She's had these dreams since she arrived," Margaret whispered, "always calling for Marcos and Helena, and sometimes she calls for Uncle Teo." Teodoro held Luna until her breathing calmed, his heart breaking for all the years they'd lost, all the nights she'd been alone and afraid. The next morning, as they prepared for the DNA test, Luna looked at him with those familiar green eyes. "Mr. Teodoro, If I really am your family, will you still want Esperanza and Joan too? We're a package deal now. Always, Teodoro promised, feeling it with every fiber of his being. All three of you, always. Erdidun, at 3:17 a.m., Esperanza's piercing cries shattered the peaceful silence of Teodoro's penthouse. He rushed to the nursery to find Luna already there, holding the baby with obvious distress. "She's burning with fever," Luna said, her voice tight with panic. "Her breathing is wrong and she won't take her bottle." Teodoro touched Esperanza's forehead and felt dangerous heat radiating from her tiny body. His heart pounded as he reached for the phone to call emergency services. "Wait," Luna commanded with surprising authority. "Check her pulse first. Feel right here on her wrist." Her small fingers guided Teodoro's hand to the correct position. "If it's too fast, it's sepsis. We need to cool her down before we move her." Teodoro stared at her in amazement. "Luna, how do you know all this?" I remember someone teaching me," she whispered, confusion flickering across her face. "A lady in white clothes who smelled like medicine. At Mount Sinai's emergency room, Esperanza was immediately taken for treatment. Teodoro and Luna sat in the waiting area, Joan sleeping peacefully in Luna's protective arms despite the chaos around them. "Mr. Silva," Dr. Sarah Kim approached them. "Esperanza has a serious infection, but we caught it in time thanks to your quick response. She'll need to stay for observation, but should recover fully." Luna collapsed against Teodoro's shoulder, adrenaline finally leaving her small body. "I was so scared," she sobbed. "I can't lose her too. I can't lose anyone else." "Anyone else?" Teodoro asked gently. Through tears, Luna looked at him with those heartbreaking green eyes. "I don't remember their faces anymore, but I remember the feeling, like my heart broke into pieces. A man and woman who loved me, and then they were gone." Teodoro pulled her closer, his own eyes burning with unshed tears. Every instinct screamed that this brave girl was Sophia, his brother's daughter, finally home after 6 years lost. "You won't lose us," he promised fiercely. "I won't let anything happen to you, Esperanza or Joan. We're family now." Luna pulled back slightly, studying his face with that intense way she had. "Family," she repeated softly. "I like how that sounds when you say it." Dr. Kim returned with a nurse and clipboard. "I need to ask about Luna's medical knowledge." Her assessment of Esperanza's condition was remarkably accurate for someone her age. "Has she had medical training?" "Not that I know of," Teodoro replied, but he watched Luna carefully. "I just knew," Luna said quietly. "Sometimes I know things I shouldn't know. Like Marcos used to say, family takes care of family no matter what." Dr. Kim raised an eyebrow. "Marcos?" Teodoro's breath caught. "Luna, what else do you remember about Marcos?" But Luna had already fallen asleep against his shoulder, exhausted from the emotional crisis. As he held her, Teodoro made a silent vow. No matter the cost, he would protect these children and discover the truth about Luna's past. Esperanza's recovery over the next 3 days transformed everything. Teodoro hadn't left the hospital once, conducting business from the pediatric waiting room while Luna refused to be separated from both babies. Margarete arrived daily with home-cooked meals and clean clothes, treating them like the family they were becoming. "Sir," Teodoro's assistant called Wednesday morning, "the board is furious about your absence. Mr. Moreira has been telling investors you've had a complete mental breakdown." "Let him talk," Teodoro replied, watching Luna gently read a picture book to João while Esperanza slept peacefully in her arms. Some things matter more than board meetings. Margaret pulled Teodoro aside that afternoon. "I need to tell you something about Luna. When she's alone with the babies, sometimes she speaks differently, more refined, like she's remembering something." "What does she say?" "Yesterday I heard her singing a lullaby in French. When I asked where she learned it, she seemed confused and said she didn't know French." Margaret paused. "Mr. Silva, your brother's wife, Helena, was French, wasn't she?" Teodoro's chest tightened. "Yes. She used to sing French lullabies to Sophia." That night, as they finally prepared to bring Esperanza home, Santos called with urgent news. Teodoro, you need to know. Moreira hired his own investigator. He's investigating Luna's past, but not to help. I think he's looking for ammunition. What kind of ammunition? Something to prove you're unfit to run the company. Maybe even to get the children taken away from you. Teodoro's protective instincts flared. He wouldn't dare. There's more. I've been tracking Luna's movements over the past years. She wasn't just randomly surviving on the streets. She was searching. Every foster home she ran from, every shelter she left, she was always moving toward Sao Paulo, toward you, toward me, like some part of her remembered where home should be. Back at the penthouse, Luna helped Margaret settle the babies in their cribs with the expertise of someone much older than 8. Teodoro watched her move through the routine with familiar confidence. "Luna," he said gently, "do you remember anything about French lullabies?" She froze, her green eyes becoming distant. "Sometimes I hear singing in my dreams. A beautiful lady with golden hair who smells like vanilla perfume. She calls me Mon Petit Ange." Teodoro's heart stopped. Helena always called Sophia my little angel in French. Before he could respond, Luna suddenly grabbed his hand. "Mr. Teodoro, that bad man from before, the one who was here the first night, he's coming back tonight. I can feel it." "How can you know that?" Luna's eyes held ancient wisdom that made him shiver. "Because bad men always come back when they think you're weak, and he thinks we've made you weak." As if summoned by her words, the doorbell rang. Through the intercom, Ricardo Moreira's voice carried cold satisfaction. "Teodoro, we need to talk. I have some very interesting information about your little house guests." Ricardo Moreira entered Teodoro's penthouse with the predatory confidence of someone holding all the cards. His expensive suit was impeccable, his smile sharp as a blade. Margarete quickly took Luna and the babies to the kitchen, sensing danger in the air. "Drink?" Teodoro offered coldly, moving toward his bar. "This isn't a social call." Ricardo settled into the leather chair as if it were his own. "I know who she is, Teodoro. I know exactly who that girl really is." Teodoro's hand stopped on the whiskey bottle. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sophia Silva, the supposedly dead daughter of your dead brother, the one who's been missing for 6 years." Ricardo's smile widened. "The one who's worth 25% of our company if she's legally recognized as Marcos's heir." The words hit Teodoro like physical blows. "Son of a..." Now, let's stay civilized." Ricardo crossed his legs casually. "I've known this since the second day she was here. Those silver eyes are unmistakable, and unlike you, I'm not blinded by sentiment." Teodoro set the bottle down carefully, his mind racing. "What do you want?" "Your resignation, total transfer of your shares to me. In exchange, I keep quiet about little Sophia's convenient reappearance and the billions she stands to inherit. She's just a child who's been through hell." "More, she's a street kid who won the genetic lottery," Ricardo interrupted viciously. "Do you really think the board will believe you found her by accident? Or will they assume you were hiding her, manipulating the situation to consolidate power through a minor you control?" From the kitchen came the sound of Luna humming softly to the babies. The innocence of it contrasted sharply with Ricardo's calculated cruelty. "You're insane if you think I'll abandon these children." "Oh, you won't abandon them. You'll lose them." Ricardo leaned forward. "I've already filed papers questioning your fitness as a guardian. Single man, no child-rearing experience, sudden irrational behavior. Add to that the suspicion that you manipulated a traumatized child for financial gain." Teodoro's hands clenched into fists. "I never..." "Truth doesn't matter, Teodoro. Perception matters. The court will remove those children from your custody faster than you can say conflict of interest." "And then what? You'll take custody?" Ricardo laughed. "Me? God, no. They'll go into the system where Sophia will disappear again, this time permanently. No more inconvenient heirs to worry about." The threat hung in the air like poison. Teodoro understood now that this wasn't just about the company. Ricardo was willing to destroy 3 innocent children to get what he wanted. "You have 48 hours. Ricardo continued, rising to leave. "Resign and transfer your shares, or I expose everything. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. I hear the social services system is particularly brutal this time of year." When Ricardo reached the door, Luna appeared in the hallway, her green eyes blazing with intelligence far beyond her years. "You're afraid of us," she said quietly. "That's why you want us gone. You know we're really family, and family is stronger than money." Ricardo paused, his mask slipping slightly. "Smart girl. Too bad intelligence won't save you from what's coming." After he left, Luna walked to Teodoro and took his hand. "He's going to try to separate us, isn't he?" Teodoro knelt to her level. "I won't let that happen, I promise." But even saying it, Teodoro wondered if some promises were too big to keep. Teodoro spent the night pacing his study, Ricardo's threats echoing in his mind. 48 hours to choose between the work of his lifetime and the children who had become his world. There was no choice at all. At dawn, he called Santos with urgency that cut through the early hour. "I need everything you can find on Marcos and Helena's accident. Every police report, every witness statement, every piece of evidence about Sophia's disappearance. Sir, that case was closed years ago. Then we're reopening it. Ricardo Moreira is threatening to destroy these children. Unless I hand over my company, I need ammunition to fight back." Santos arrived within hours, carrying boxes of files that Teodoro had been too consumed by grief to examine when Marcos died. As he spread documents across his desk, Luna appeared in the doorway. "What are all these papers?" she asked, balancing baby Esperanza on her hip with practiced ease. "Research," Teodoro replied carefully. "Luna, I need to ask you something important. Do you remember anything about a car accident? About being hurt or scared?" Luna's face went pale. She set Esperanza down gently and approached the table, her green eyes examining the photographs scattered there. Suddenly, she grabbed one, a newspaper clipping showing the wreckage of Marcos's car. "I remember the rain," she whispered, her young voice trembling and screaming and flying through the air like a bird. "But wrong. Then everything went dark for so long." Teodoro's heart pounded. "What happened after the darkness?" "I woke up in a place that smelled like medicine. A kind lady in white was taking care of me, but I couldn't remember my name or where I came from. She called me Jane Doe." Luna's fingers traced the newspaper photo. "But then the bad people came and said there was no money for me, so I had to leave." Santos looked up from the files. "Teodoro, look at this. Hospital records from the night of the accident show an unidentified child brought in with severe head trauma. No ID, no family found. After 6 weeks, she was transferred to foster care as Jane Doe. That's when the forgetting started," Luna continued, her voice distant with memory. "Every time I tried to remember before, my head hurt so much. But I always knew I was looking for someone with kind eyes who made me feel safe." Teodoro knelt before her, taking her small hands in his. "Luna, what if I told you that your real name is Sophia and that Marcos, the man from your dreams, was your daddy?" Luna's eyes widened. "And his uncle Teo, the one who made chocolate chip cookies and let me help in the kitchen. Are you starting to remember?" Teodoro's voice choked with emotion. "I'm starting to remember." Tears rolled down Luna's cheeks. "But if I really am Sophia, and I have family, why did it take so long for us to find each other?" Santos cleared his throat. "Because someone didn't want you to be found. Teodoro, look at this." He held up a legal document. "Ricardo Moreira is listed as emergency contact for Marcos's estate. He would have been notified immediately if Sophia was found alive." The implication hit Teodoro like a physical blow. He knew from the beginning. He knew she was alive and chose not to look for her. "More than that," Santos continued grimly, "he actively prevented the search. Look, private investigator bills paid by Moreira Industries to monitor missing persons case status. He was keeping watch to ensure she stayed unfound." Luna moved closer to Teodoro, slipping her hand into his. "He wanted me to disappear forever, so you'd never find out about the money, right? This isn't about money anymore, dear. It's about family. Good, Luna said with fierce determination that powerfully reminded Teodoro of Marcos. Because family fights for each other, and we're going to fight him, aren't we? Teodoro looked down at this brave girl, his niece, his brother's daughter, the missing piece of his broken heart, and felt something hard as steel settle in his chest. Yes, Sophia, we're going to fight. The sterile waiting room of the DNA testing facility felt like a courtroom where Teodoro's future would be decided. Luna sat beside him, nervously swinging her legs, while Esperanza and João dozed in their carriers. No matter what the results say, Teodoro told her quietly, you're still my family. DNA doesn't change how I feel about you. Luna nodded, but her green eyes held the vulnerability of a child who had been disappointed many times. What if I'm not really Sophia? What if I just wanted it to be true so badly that I made up the memories? Before Teodoro could answer, Dr. Patricia Martins entered with a manila envelope, her expression one of professional amazement. Mr. Silva, I've been conducting genetic tests for 15 years, and I've never seen results like these. She opened the envelope carefully. The child you know as Luna is definitely Sophia Silva, your brother's daughter. The DNA match is conclusive. Teodoro closed his eyes, relief flooding through him like warm water. Beside him, Luna, Sophia, let out a breath she'd been holding for 6 years. But there's something else, Dr. Martins continued. The genetic markers also show evidence of severe traumatic brain injury, likely from early childhood. This type of damage typically causes retrograde amnesia, the inability to form new memories of past events. Is that why she couldn't remember us? Teodoro asked. Exactly. However, the brain is remarkable in healing. Recent stress or familiar environments can trigger memory recovery. Being near family, hearing familiar voices, even smells can unlock what seemed permanently lost. Sophia looked at Teodoro with wonder. So when I started remembering Marcos making cookies and Helena's French lullabies, your brain was healing, Dr. Martins confirmed. The memories were always there, just locked away. Teodoro hugged Sophia fiercely. You found your way home, dear. Somehow, against all odds, you found your way back to family. There's one more thing, Dr. Martins added. The markers suggest Sophia has an almost supernatural sense of direction and survival instincts. It's rare, but trauma sometimes enhances certain cognitive abilities. It's probably how she survived on the streets and eventually made it to São Paulo, to you. As they left the facility, Teodoro's phone buzzed with a message from Santos. Emergency. Moreira has accelerated his timeline. Court hearing tomorrow morning. He's claiming you kidnapped Sophia and are holding her for ransom. Teodoro showed the message to Sophia, her young face hardening with determination that powerfully reminded him of Marcos facing down bullies in childhood. He's scared, she said simply. He knows we have the truth now, so he's trying to attack first. What do we do? Sophia's green eyes blazed with newfound confidence. We fight back with science, with truth, and with love. Uncle Teo, it's time to show everyone who we really are. Teodoro looked down at this remarkable girl, his niece, his brother's daughter, the survivor who had found her way home through sheer will and love, and felt pride swell in his chest. Then let's win this war. Teodoro's legal team assembled in his penthouse like generals preparing for war. The dining table disappeared under piles of documents, DNA reports, and evidence of Ricardo Moreira's deception. Sophia sat cross-legged on the floor, keeping Esperanza and João entertained, while the adults planned their counterattack. We have 40 minutes before the emergency custody hearing, announced Sara Costa, Teodoro's lead attorney. Moreira's petition claims you're mentally unstable and using Sophia for financial gain. Then we prove otherwise, Teodoro replied, his voice carrying the steel that had built his empire. Every document, every witness, every piece of evidence showing I found her by accident and protected her from the man who deliberately kept her lost. Santos spread surveillance photos across the table. I've tracked Moreira's investigators for 3 years. He monitored missing children databases, specifically looking for Sofia Silva sightings. When nothing turned up, he assumed she was dead and safe until she appeared in my alley. Exactly, Teodoro realized. His first reaction wasn't concern for her welfare. It was panic about what her existence meant for company control. Sofia looked up from the babies, her green eyes bright with recovered memories. Uncle Teo, I remember one more thing. The night of the accident, right before it happened, Daddy was on the phone. He was angry, talking about someone trying to steal the company from the family. Teodoro's blood ran cold. Did he say a name? Rico something. He said the man was dangerous and greedy. Sofia's voice grew stronger with certainty. Daddy said he was going to the lawyers the next day to protect me and Mama from him. Sarah Costa leaned forward intently. If Marcos was planning to change his will or company shares to protect against Moreira, then Ricardo had motive to ensure Marcos never made it to that meeting, Santos finished grimly. The room fell silent as the implications settled. Teodoro felt rage building in his chest, not just for the theft and deception, but for the possibility that Moreira had somehow orchestrated his brother's death. Can we prove this? Teodoro asked. Not in the next 30 minutes, Santos admitted, but we can raise enough doubt to protect Sofia and the babies from his custody attempt. Then that's what we do. Teodoro knelt beside Sofia. Dear, I need you to be very brave today. A judge is going to ask questions about living with me. Can you tell the truth about how we met? Sofia nodded solemnly. Will you be there with me? Every second. In court, Ricardo Moreira sat with his own legal team radiating confidence. When Teodoro entered with Sofia, Esperanza and João, Ricardo's smug expression faltered slightly. Your Honor, Sarah Costa addressed Judge Martinez, we're not just defending against false charges today. We're exposing a 6-year conspiracy to hide a child from her family and steal her inheritance. That's a serious allegation, Counselor. We have DNA evidence, hospital records, and documentation of Mr. Moreira's deliberate suppression of the search for Sofia Silva. Sarah gestured toward Sofia, who sat beside Teodoro with quiet dignity. This child didn't randomly appear in Mr. Silva's life. She found her way home to the only family she had, despite 6 years of intentional separation. Judge Martinez looked directly at Sofia. Young lady, are you comfortable living with Mr. Silva? Sofia stood straight, every inch a Silva. Yes, Your Honor. He's my Uncle Teo. He takes care of me, Esperanza. And João like family should. We're safe with him. And do you want to stay with him? Forever and always, Sofia replied without hesitation. We're family now. Judge Martinez studied the mountain of evidence spread before the bench. DNA reports, hospital records, private investigator receipts, all painting a damning picture of Ricardo Moreira's 6-year deception. Mr. Moreira, the judge said sternly, you've been Mr. Silva's business partner for over a decade, yet when his brother's child went missing, you made no effort to find her. Ricardo shifted uncomfortably. Your Honor, there was no evidence she had survived the accident, except for hospital records showing an unidentified child matching her description, Judge Martinez interrupted. And private investigator bills showing you actively monitored missing persons databases to ensure she remained unfound. Teodoro watched with grim satisfaction as Ricardo's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Beside him, Sofia held baby Esperanza with the protective strength that had saved all 3 children. Furthermore, the judge continued, the claim that Mr. Silva is exploiting this child for financial gain is contradicted by his immediate filing for adoption and his establishment of a trust fund protecting her inheritance from any outside control, including his own. Sarah Costa stood. Your Honor, we're also filing criminal charges against Mr. Moreira for conspiracy, child endangerment, and fraud related to the deliberate concealment of Sofia Silva's survival. Ricardo's lawyer whispered frantically in his ear, but the damage was done. The evidence was overwhelming, the pattern of deception undeniable. This court finds no merit in Mr. Moreira's custody petition, Judge Martinez declared. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full investigation into his business practices and role in suppressing the search for Sofia Silva." As they left the courthouse, Ricardo cornered Teodoro in the hallway, his usual composure shattered. "You've destroyed everything," he hissed. 20 years building this company. "You destroyed it yourself," Teodoro replied coldly, "the moment you chose greed over a child's life." Sofia stepped between them, her green eyes blazing with recovered strength. "You tried to erase me," she said quietly, "but family can't be erased. Love can't be stolen, and truth always finds a way home." That night, as news spread through São Paulo's business world, Teodoro found himself in the kitchen making chocolate chip cookies, a tradition he had shared with Sofia years ago and was ready to revive. "Uncle Teo?" Sofia asked, flour dusting her hands as she helped measure ingredients. "What happens to Mr. Moreira now?" "Justice, dear. He'll face consequences for what he did to you, to us, to the company. And we really get to stay together, all four of us." Teodoro looked around his kitchen, now filled with laughter, baby bottles, and the sweet chaos of family life. Forever and always. But even with victory settling around them, Teodoro knew the hardest part was yet to come. Tomorrow would bring the final chapter of their journey, not in a courtroom, but in the court of public opinion, where the truth about their extraordinary reunion would finally be told to the world. 6 months after the courtroom victory, Teodoro's penthouse had transformed beyond recognition. Gone were the sterile surfaces and cold perfection of a bachelor's showcase. In their place, finger paintings adorned the refrigerator, toy blocks scattered across marble floors, and the constant symphony of family life that had filled the empty spaces in Teodoro's heart. "Daddy, look!" Sofia called from the living room, where she was teaching Esperanza, now 10 months old, to clap. João sat nearby, babbling happily as he explored a set of colorful building blocks. The word "daddy" still sent warmth through Teodoro's chest. After months of gentle correction, Sofia had finally stopped calling him Uncle Teo and embraced the role he had legally assumed, her adoptive father and protector. "That's wonderful, dear," Teodoro replied, setting aside quarterly reports that would once have consumed his entire Saturday. Business success still mattered, but no longer defined his worth. Margaret Costa entered with a tea service, her face glowing with contentment. The formal housekeeper had evolved into something between grandmother and co-parent, her maternal instincts finally receiving full expression after losing her own daughter decades earlier. "Sir, the foundation paperwork arrived," she announced, placing an official envelope on the coffee table. "The Marcos and Helena Silva Foundation for Missing Children is officially established." Teodoro opened the documents with reverence. The 100 million real endowment would fund search efforts for missing children and provide support for families navigating the trauma of separation and recovery. It was his way of honoring his brother's memory while ensuring no other child would suffer Sofia's fate. "Daddy," Sofia looked up from playing with the babies, "will the foundation help other children like me find their families?" "That's exactly what it will do," Teodoro confirmed, "and you'll help decide how to use the money to help them." Sofia's green eyes blazed with purpose. At 9 years old now, she demonstrated wisdom far beyond her years, shaped by survival but tempered by love. The street smart girl who had protected 2 babies in a storm had evolved into a confident young lady who spoke at charity events about the importance of never giving up hope. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Silva," his doorman announced, "Dr. Martins from Mount Sinai is here to see you." Teodoro's chest tightened. Dr. Martins was Isabella Santos's oncologist. They had maintained contact as Isabella's condition deteriorated, ensuring she could stay connected to Esperanza and João during her final weeks. Dr. Martins entered with the gentle bearing of someone carrying both sad news and deep peace. "Teodoro, Isabella passed away this morning peacefully, surrounded by the photos you brought of the children." Sofia immediately wrapped her arms around Esperanza and João, her protective instincts unchanged despite months of security. "Will they remember her?" she asked quietly. They'll remember that she loved them enough to ensure they found safety, Teodoro assured her, echoing the words he had spoken to Isabella months before. That evening, as Teodoro tucked the children into bed, Sophia lingered beside him. "Daddy, I've been thinking about next week's big announcement. Are you nervous about telling everyone our whole story?" The press conference had been planned for months, a public revelation of their extraordinary journey that would also officially launch the foundation. Teodoro had decided that transparency was the best protection against future manipulation. "A little," he admitted, "but mostly I'm proud. Proud of how brave you've been, how you saved Esperanza and João, how you found your way home to family." Sophia smiled, that radiant expression that so powerfully reminded him of Marcos. "I'm proud too, of all of us." As Teodoro left her room, Sophia called softly, "Daddy, tomorrow can we make cookies like you and my first daddy used to?" "Of course, dear. It's a perfect day to continue family traditions." Standing in his hallway, surrounded by the gentle sounds of children breathing and a home humming with life, Teodoro marveled at the man he had become. The lonely businessman who once measured success in quarterly profits now found his greatest achievement in bedtime stories and morning hugs. Tomorrow would bring the final chapter of their public journey, sharing their miracle with the world and launching a foundation that would help other families find their way back to each other. The ballroom of the Copacabana Palace Hotel buzzed with anticipation as São Paulo's media elite gathered for what had been announced as an unprecedented announcement from Teodoro Silva. Cameras lined the walls, reporters filled every seat, and speculation ran wild about the reclusive billionaire's mysterious transformation over the past year. Teodoro stood backstage with Sofia, Esperanza, and João, his heart pounding with an emotion he had never felt before major business presentations. Not nervousness, but deep love and pride. "Ready, dear?" he asked Sophia, who wore a beautiful blue dress that matched her green silver eyes. "Ready, Daddy?" she replied, adjusting baby Esperanza on her hip, while João held firmly to Teodoro's hand. "It's time for everyone to know the truth about family." They walked onto the stage together, and the room fell silent. Teodoro approached the podium with his children beside him, the striking image in its simple power, a man and his family united by love rather than obligation. "Ladies and gentlemen," Teodoro began, his voice carrying the authority that had built empires, now softened by paternal warmth. "A year ago, I thought I knew what success meant. I measured it in quarterly profits, market share, and stock prices. I was wrong." He gestured toward Sophia, who stepped forward with quiet confidence. "This is Sophia Silva, my daughter by adoption, my niece by birth, and my hero by choice. A year ago, she was a nameless child living on the streets, protecting 2 abandoned babies with nothing but fierce love and unshakable courage." Murmurs rippled through the audience as cameras focused on Sophia's remarkable composure. "What I didn't know then," Teodoro continued, "was that this brave girl was my brother Marcos's daughter, missing for 6 years after a car accident that took her parents and left her with amnesia. She survived alone, forgotten by the system, while my business partner Ricardo Moreira deliberately suppressed efforts to find her, knowing her existence threatened his control of our company." The room exploded in shocked whispers. Teodoro raised his hand for silence. "Sophia didn't just find me. She found her way home through instinct, love, and an unbreakable connection to family, and she brought with her Esperanza and João Santos, whose dying mother entrusted us to give them the life she couldn't provide." Sophia approached the microphone, her young voice carrying clearly across the hall. "I want to talk about real family," she said, looking directly into the cameras. "It's not just people who share your blood. It's people who choose to love you, protect you, and never give up on you. My daddy Teodoro chose us when we had nothing. Esperanza and João's mama chose to trust us with her babies. Margaret chose to make a home for us. That's what family really means." Teodoro felt tears threatening as he watched this remarkable girl, his daughter, speak with wisdom earned through suffering but tempered by love. "Today," Teodoro announced, "we're launching the Marcos and Helena Silva Foundation for Missing Children with an endowment of 100 million reais. But more importantly, we're launching a new definition of success. One measured in children found, families reunited, and love multiplied instead of profits accumulated." He lifted João into his arms while Sofia held Esperança, creating a tableau of unshakable family unity. Ricardo Moreira tried to convince the world that love makes you weak in business. He was wrong. Love makes you invincible. It gives you something worth fighting for that's bigger than money, stronger than ambition, and more lasting than any corporate empire. The audience rose in thunderous applause, but Teodoro only had eyes for his children. Sofia beamed at him with pure joy, while Esperança and João babbled happily in their arms. Later, as the reception wound down and reporters filed their stories about the most extraordinary business announcement in São Paulo's history, Teodoro found himself on the hotel terrace with his family, watching the city lights sparkle below. "Daddy," Sofia said quietly, "do you think my first daddy and mama would be proud of who we became?" Teodoro pulled her close, his heart full to overflowing. "Dear, Marcos and Helena gave you life, but you gave yourself the strength to survive and the courage to save others. They would be incredibly proud, not just of who you became, but of the family you built." Margarete joined them on the terrace, carrying a bottle for Esperança and a sleepy smile for João. "Sir," she said softly, "I've worked for wealthy families my entire life, but I've never seen real wealth until now." Teodoro looked around at his extraordinary family. Sofia, the survivor who had found her way home, Esperança and João, the babies saved by a child's fierce love, Margarete, the devoted woman who had found her maternal purpose again, and himself, transformed from hollow success into a complete human being. "You're right, Margarete," he replied, pulling everyone closer. "We're the richest family in São Paulo." "Oh." As night deepened around them, Teodoro reflected on the storm that had brought them together. What had seemed like coincidence now felt like destiny. Marcos protecting his daughter from beyond, guiding her to the one person who could save her, and who she, in turn, could save from a life of empty achievement. "Daddy," Sofia asked sleepily, "tomorrow, can we start planning how to help other lost children find their families?" "Tomorrow, and every day after," Teodoro promised, "because that's what families do. They make sure no one stays lost forever." Above them, stars shone over a family that proved love truly can build empires more lasting than any business. Empires of the heart that would endure for generations. Did you enjoy this moving story? If you were touched by Sofia and Teodoro's journey, leave a comment sharing which part touched your heart the most. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that show how love can transform lives in unimaginable ways. Until the next adventure.